Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Great English Podcast. I'm Catherine.
And I'm Mark. Today's episode is all about improving your English by listening to a fun and engaging conversation between two people, Sarah and Daniel, who meet while traveling to a new city.
Exactly, Mark. We'll keep the language simple and explain key vocabulary so you can follow easily. This episode is perfect for English learners who want to improve their listening skills and learn phrases for everyday conversations.
All right, let's jump right in. First, let's set the scene. Sarah and Daniel are sitting next to each other on a train headed to Chicago. Both of them are taking a short trip to relax after busy months. They don't know each other yet but start talking as the train ride progresses. Let's listen to their conversation.
Excuse me, is this seat taken?
No, not at all. Please, have a seat.
Thank you. So, are you headed to Chicago for work or fun?
A little bit of both. I'm taking a couple of days off to explore the city. How about you?
Oh, same here. I've had a hectic few months at work, and I thought a short trip would help me recharge.
That sounds like a great idea. What do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all. I'm a graphic designer. I work with a lot of corporate clients, which can be exciting but also pretty exhausting. How about you?
I'm in software development. My team has been working on a big project for the past 6 months, so this trip is my reward to myself.
Wow, that's impressive. What kind of project was it?
We're building a mobile app for online learning. It's been challenging but really rewarding.
That's amazing. It must feel great to see your work come to life.
It does. But enough about work. What made you choose Chicago for your trip?
Oh, I've always wanted to visit the art museums there. Plus, I've heard great things about the food scene. What about you?
For me, it's the architecture and maybe catching a Cubs game. I've heard Chicago's skyline is something you have to see in person.
Absolutely. I've read about the architectural tours on the river. They sound so interesting.
So, do you usually travel alone, or do you go with friends or family?
I usually travel with friends, but this time I wanted some me time. It's been nice to just go at my own pace. What about you?
Same here. I think solo trips are underrated. You get to soak in the experience without worrying about someone else's schedule.
Exactly. And you end up meeting interesting people along the way. Like today.
That's true. So, is there a particular artist or type of art you're excited to see in Chicago?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Impressionist art. The Art Institute has some incredible pieces by Monet and Van Gogh that I've only seen in books. Seeing them in person will be amazing.
That sounds incredible. I'm more of a history buff, so I'm hoping to check out some of the historical landmarks.
You should visit the Chicago History Museum. I've heard they have some fascinating exhibits about the city's past.
Thanks for the tip. I'll add it to my list. By the way, do you usually plan your trips, or do you go with the flow?
A mix of both. I like to have a general plan but leave room for spontaneous adventures. What about you?
Same here. Some of the best experiences happen when you're not overthinking everything.
Totally. Like, I once stumbled upon this little jazz club during a trip to New Orleans. It wasn't in any guidebook, but it ended up being the highlight of my trip.
That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to visit New Orleans. The music scene there must be incredible.
It is. You should go if you get the chance. So, do you have any other hobbies besides traveling and work?
I'm into photography. I love capturing landscapes and cityscapes, especially when I'm traveling. How about you?
That's cool. I've always admired photography but never had the patience for it. I'm more into reading and writing. Journaling helps me process my thoughts.
That's a great habit. Do you ever share your writing with others?
Sometimes. I have a blog, but it's mostly for myself. It's nice to look back and see how my thoughts and experiences have evolved.
That's inspiring. I should try journaling sometimes. It might help me organize my thoughts better.
You should. It's very therapeutic. Plus, it's a great way to document your travels.
All right, let's pause here for a moment to go over some vocabulary.
Good idea. Let's start with me time. Sarah mentioned wanting some me time. This phrase means time to yourself to relax or do things you enjoy. For example, after a long week, I need some me time to recharge.
Another useful word is underrated. Daniel said solo trips are underrated, which means they are better than most people think. For instance, this small coffee shop is underrated, it has the best lattes.
And we also heard spontaneous, which means something that happens without a plan. For example, we made a spontaneous decision to go to the beach.
Great explanations, Mark. Let's get back to the conversation.
So, Sarah, now that we've talked about what brought us here, let's get into the fun stuff. What's your game plan for the trip?
Oh, I've been thinking about this. On my first day, I'm heading straight to Millennium Park to see the famous Bean. Then I plan to explore the Art Institute of Chicago. I might spend the evening at a nice restaurant. I've heard about this deep dish pizza place, Giordano's, I think.
Great choice. Deep dish pizza is a must in Chicago. What about the rest of your trip?
Day 2 is a bit more flexible. I'm thinking about an architecture boat tour on the Chicago River, then maybe wandering around Navy Pier. And if I have energy left, I'll catch a sunset view from the Willis Tower sky deck.
That sounds incredible. You've got a nice balance of sightseeing and relaxation.
Thanks. What about you? Have you planned anything specific?
A little bit. On my first day, I want to explore the Chicago History Museum. I'm curious about how the city rebuilt itself after the Great Chicago Fire. Later, I'm going to check out some of the local coffee shops. I'm a bit of a coffee enthusiast.
Oh, me too. Do you have a favorite type of coffee? Same here. You'll have to let me know if you find a great cafe.
Definitely. For day 2, I'm planning to visit Wrigley Field. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I've heard the stadium has such a unique atmosphere. Then maybe I'll spend some time at Lincoln Park Zoo. It's free and sounds like a fun way to unwind.
That's such a good plan. I've heard the zoo is a great spot, even for adults.
For sure. And in the evening, I might catch a comedy show at Second City. I've heard a lot of big comedians started there.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Laughter is the best way to end a day.
Agreed. You know, it's funny, we both have such packed itineraries, but they are so different. It just goes to show how much Chicago has to offer. So, Sarah, what's one thing you're hoping to take away from this trip?
Good question. I think I just want to feel refreshed and inspired. It's been a while since I've done something just for myself. What about you?
For me, it's about gaining a new perspective. Sometimes a change of scenery is all you need to clear your mind.
That's so true. And who knows? Maybe this trip will lead to some unexpected opportunities or ideas.
Exactly. Life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it.
Well said. Here's to new adventures and fresh starts.
Well said. Here's to new adventures and fresh starts.
Looks like this is my stop. It was nice talking to you, Daniel. You too. Maybe we'll run into each other again someday.
You never know. Take care.
And that wraps up Sarah and Daniel's conversation. We hope you enjoyed this episode and learned some useful phrases and vocabulary.
Don't forget to practice what you've learned today. Try using some of the phrases in your conversations.
And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Great English Podcast. Please support us by joining membership for more exclusive content designed only for you, and we'll see you next time for another engaging conversation. To Great English Podcast for more fun and practical lessons. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.